Hi, I'm Adam in Wales, and this video is the third in a series of videos looking at the history of the Spiel des Jahres award. The Spiel des Jahres award is the most prestigious award in board gaming in the world. It's based in Germany, it's given out every year. The 2016 award winner will be announced in July, and it's between Emotep over here, which is my favourite of the three, but I also like very much the other two games, Codenames and Karuba, both also excellent games. Now, when the Spiel des Jahres award is announced, clearly there's a couple of games that were nominated but don't win, the runners-up, and that's what we're looking at today. Games that were nominated for the Spiel des Jahres award but didn't win it. Okay, so let's make a start. Way back in 2002, Stefan Dora designed a game called Bucket King, which is similar to a trick-taking game, but players will have a sort of two-dimensional pyramid of little sort of buckets, and they're laid out. They're essentially tiles laid out on the table. The newer version, which came out a year or two ago, is Bucket King 3D, which uses plastic cups that stack on top of each other to give it a real three-dimensional view, and also this crazy Japanese art style from Jolly Thinkers, which ties it into the pick a pig, pick a dog, pick a polar bear, pick a seal line of games. I really like that art style, and I really like those little party games I just mentioned, the Pick a Pig series. So Bucket King was an easy sort of buy for me. It was an obvious one to pick up, and yet it's not very well known. Now, this is not a great game, but it is a funny one. It's a lot of fun. When I say trick-taking, this is not sort of that sort of dry trick-taking, play a card, little bit of strategy in there. This is much sillier than that. It's much more attacky than that. The flow of play keeps going back and forth between players as it changes direction going around the table. And when you attack a player, you get to actually knock a plastic cup out of their pyramid. So it's got that great tactile thing. A lot of players are going to come and say, what are you playing? Because no one's going to have seen anything that looks quite like this game. So Bucket King 3D, an oddity, never should have won the Spiel des Jahres, and it didn't, but definitely a game that I can recommend, I can get behind. It's a lot of fun. If I said Friedemann Fries to you, and you're a board gamer, you're going to know who I mean. It's the guy with the green hair. It's the guy who made Power Grid and a whole series of games that begin with F. Now, Power Grid, we mentioned in the previous list, it was recommended for the Spiel des Jahres, not nominated. So it's not Power Grid that we're talking about today. It's one of Friedemann Fries's lesser-known games. What we're talking about is Fischmarkt. Frikadellen. I said he likes F's, his name being Friedemann Fries, and he likes the colour green. Now, Frikadellen was nominated in 2003. Friedemann Fries, outside of Power Grid, what he's known for is innovation. He comes up with weird little mechanisms and things that don't always necessarily quite work, but they're always interesting, they're always worth a look. He's an experimenter, he likes to try out different things, and I have a lot of respect for him for that. Frikadellen is perhaps his most audacious project of all, because in order to play Frikadellen, you don't really just need this, you also need this, and ideally you need this as well. Yeah, if you have 3 copies of the game, then you see it at its... Sorry, I've got to put them down. Then you see it at its absolute best. Because this is essentially a pick up and deliver game. You gather goods, you take them to other locations, but you can play it on 3 different tables with 5 people playing on each table. So 15 players, perhaps in different rooms. And when you reach a certain point in the game, you can swap tables and continue playing. So the goods on one table might be worth a certain amount, but when you move to the other room, they might be worth even more, or they might be worth less. There's all this stuff about moving in between rooms and all that sort of stuff. It's not a great game, and it's not something you're going to want to play all the time. But is it interesting? Is it innovative? Absolutely. It's an event when you can get a game of Frikadellen going. Unfortunately, it's not something that I can get going very often, because it's not often that I have 15 players, all who want to play the same game, all who are happy to play something quite so odd. So it's a bit of a hard sell. I'm not surprised at all it didn't win the Spiel des Jahres, but worthy of a nomination just because it's so interesting. Number 8 on my list. I don't actually have a copy of this game, but this is Splendor. And the reason I don't have a copy is because it's everywhere. Everyone's playing Splendor the last couple of years. It received a recommendation in a nomination in 2014, and it became a bit of a staple as a gateway game, which surprises me a little bit because the artwork is so boring. I mean, it's a lovely game, don't get me wrong. It's simple, it's accessible, it's strategic, but simple strategy. Anybody can dive in and pick up and play with this game. Ideal for the Spiel des Jahres. I'm surprised that it didn't win, but the artwork is this sort of generic, I don't know, is it medieval? It's good artwork, but it's very, very dry. And yet the other components are lovely. I can't see any reason why this game didn't get a lavish production with, Xavier Colette or Piero or even Clemens Franz or one of the artists that makes these iconic looking board games in the modern sort of era. And yet it's got this dry sort of look to it. I shouldn't go on about that too much because the game itself is fantastic. It's a game of gathering these tiles. You have to use gems, and on your turn all you're doing is either taking gems or buying tiles, and yet there's so much more strategy than that, because when you're taking the gems you're depriving other players of them. When you're taking the tiles, it may be just the tile that someone else was working towards. It's a fairly short game. It scales well between different player counts. I mean, lovely, lovely game. Worthy winner of the Spiel des Jahres. It didn't win. I don't know why not. Number 7 on my list of Spiel des Jahres nominees is Bingo. It's not actually Bingo. It's Rise of Augustus. It's Julius Caesar Bingo, essentially, is what's going on here. We're in the Roman times. We're gathering senators. We're gathering chariots. We're shouting Ave Caesar. It's essentially Bingo. We're drawing things out of a bag. We're gathering these things to try and build sets, and then we're claiming tiles that give us special abilities and allow us to move stuff around. When I say it's Bingo, I don't mean to do it a disservice, because it's actually quite fun. Bingo in itself, yeah, it's random, but if you can get a little bit of strategy in there, if you can add in a few decisions, it becomes quite a fun mechanism. And Rise of Augustus demonstrates that. The fact that it is Bingo is the one thing that makes it so accessible. The game's by Paolo Mori. Paolo Mori also did Libertalia, which was on the recommendations list. A fantastic game. Added with that designer added with the beautiful artwork of Vincent de Trate, really makes for a pretty stunning sort of game. Machi Koro. I said previously with Splendor that this was a game that you see everywhere, a game that probably should have won. It was a bit of a surprise when it didn't win. Machi Koro, I feel the same way. 2015, this one got a nomination, and yet it was beaten by Colt Express. That's an odd choice, I think. Machi Koro was the obvious winner there to me. This is a accessible, simple game. It's got a beautiful look to it. People can really buy into that idea of building a city. I've got the deluxe edition here in this nice tin, but there's other versions that are available. I can't see any reason not to buy this. This has both expansions in it, and it's at a cheaper price point than buying it in the individual editions. Lovely game, Machi Koro. Surprised that this one didn't win. Number 5, and now we're on to games that I love. All the way through now, these are games that I absolutely love. First one here is Concept. Now, Concept is a party game. It's a little bit like something like Charades or Pictionary, but with this fantastic twist in using these little icons. And the iconography is so beautifully done. It's such a nice graphic design. The idea really draws people in. You can play it as a big party game. You can do it as a simple exercise. I think a lot of people abandon the rules altogether and just try it out. Try doing it as a bit of an exercise. But When I play, I must admit I don't use the rules as written in the box. I tend to use rules that are from a variant that somebody posted on Board Game Geek, which works very well for me. And I think it works well as a structured game with scoring. Although I can see the appeal of just trying it out as an exercise too. Concept would have been a worthy winner, but it missed out in 2014, losing out to Camel Up, also a good game. If any game on this list is one that has been completely sort of overlooked and forgotten about now, but really, really deserves to be heralded alongside a lot of the greatest games that have been made over the last 15 years or so, that game is Arcadia by Rudiger Dorn. Rudiger Dorn being one of the best game designers in the industry currently. Now, Die Baumeister von Arcadia harks back to that old sort of style of, it reminds me of Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling games. We're placing out pieces on the board, we've got a subtle element of speculation and stock holding. It was nominated in 2007. I don't think it would be nominated these days. This is more of a Spiel level. So we're looking at something a little bit more complex than the standard Spiel des Jahres award. This production, even the box size and the colouring and the imagery on it from Ravensburger suggests an earlier, outdated sort of design. But the game itself, nothing outdated about it at all. It's lovely. It's a fantastic game. It looks amazing when you play it, lay it out on the table, and you actually start to play it. I think it's worthy of awards. Spiel des Jahres, perhaps a little bit too complex, although back in 2007 when it was nominated, I think it would have been a great title to win. Number 3 on the list has had quite a lot of fanfare. It's Las Vegas. This is Las Vegas Boulevard, which is the expansion box, and that's what I keep the game in. And the expansion, I must say, is one of the best expansions that I've seen for any game. It adds so many options, and yet everything is so simple and integrates so well with the basic game. Now, I say it's had a lot of fanfare, and yet this is a very sort of, unassuming sort of game. It doesn't look fancy. It looks like you're just rolling a bunch of dice, standard dice, just loads of them, but there's nothing very fancy looking about it, and yet the gameplay is really, really good. This is Rudiger Dorn as well, along with Arcadia, and perhaps I think this may be his best game. It's just one of those games where everything just works so well, so simply, and you just think, why didn't I think of that? It's that sort of a game, just such an obvious, brilliant game design. So I can't recommend Las Vegas highly enough. Wonderful game, wonderful expansion, and I would just buy both straight away. It gives you more players, it gives you more options, it gives you more dice, it's not expensive, and I promise you'll get a lot of fun out of this game. 2009, and Freedom and Fries is back on the list. Nominated once again for the Spiel des Jahres, this time with his game Fauna. Now, I keep Fauna in the same box as Terra, so I can't show you the Fauna box, but it's essentially the same game as Terra, except that Fauna focuses specifically on animals, whereas Terra focuses more on general knowledge and particularly geography. Now, what these games are is general knowledge games, but they're general knowledge games where you don't have to know everything, where you can kind of leech off the knowledge of other players, where you can sort of gamble a little bit and try and get a bit close and follow what other players are doing, and you don't have to give away the fact that actually you don't know very much. There's a slight strategic sort of Euro sort of element to it. Almost a party game, but not quite. Essentially, I would think of it in terms of, if people want to play Trivial Pursuit, don't bother. Play Fauna, play Terra instead. They're quicker, they're more accessible because you don't have to know everything, but if you do know everything, it gives you a real advantage. Lovely production. I think Terra and Fauna are both masterpieces. I think they're stunning, stunning games. Again, I can't rave enough about these two games. Either one of them would have been a worthy winner for the Spiel des Jahres. I believe there's another example coming out, or has recently come out, which is about US sort of general knowledge. Perhaps that one's not for me because I'm not going to know much about it, but for people in the US, another I'm sure another great entry into the genre of general knowledge games. Friedman Fries is not a one-trick pony. That is one thing he is not. He creates diverse games with diverse mechanisms. Everything's always different, and this is one of his big successes. Fantastic game, Fauna, 2009, and later Terror. Excellent games by Friedman Fries. And number one on my list comes from 2004, and that was St. Petersburg, which was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres award. This is a classic Euro-style game. It has the pacing of a deck builder. Essentially, we're buying cards, we're placing them in front of us, and then they're going to activate over and over again, at first generating us money, which we're going to use to buy better cards that will generate us more money. And then at some point, and it's up to us when, we're going to switch to buying cards that are going to generate us victory points instead of money. So very similar pacing to something like Dominion, but this game predates those deck builders. And it's a tableau building game. The cards are laid out on a table in front of you. It's very much a card game, although it has a central board in which you place the cards. That's not really necessary. It's just wonderful. It's a simple design. It's not quite simple enough to win the Spiel des Jahres these days. I keep saying that. What I mean is, in 2011, the Spiel des Jahres was split into a main award that was for family-style games and a second award that was the Kennerspiel, which is for complex games, gamers' games, the connoisseur's choice, it's so called. I think this game would be in that category now, and I think it would be a worthy winner of the Kennerspiel. But currently, the way that the Spiel des Jahres is now, it's a little bit heavier. It's not something you're necessarily going to pick up and play with your family. This is the newer edition that came out fairly recently. I was really looking forward to this, and I got rid of my old copy of the original edition, waiting for this one to come out. This one has some expansions mixed in, a lot of different variants, and this new sort of art style. I found myself missing the old version. The old version had such a unique sort of look about it. And I found I didn't want to play the variants and the expansions because the game is so good as it is. So I went out and I sought out the original copy and its original expansion, at great expense I might add, because this old copy has now become quite valuable because people want it. Some people hated this art style. It really was divisive. People either loved it or hated it. Personally, I think it gives the game a lot of character, and it's a game that it doesn't leap out at you because it's kind of themeless, and so I think it needs that unique look just to make it sort of stand out as something a bit different to other games. So I think the new version, looking fairly generic, is probably not helping it very much. But I hope this game sticks around forever. It's a fantastic Euro game. It belongs alongside all the classics of the genre. It's definitely a worthy award winner. And so that brings me to the end of my top 10 games that were runners-up in the Spiel des Jahres competition. Games that didn't win, but were they good enough to win? I'd say the top half of this list are some of the best games I have in my collection. The bottom half of the list, oddities, you know. Nice games, definitely worth trying. I would recommend every one of them. But the top half those are stellar games. So thank you very much for watching. I'm Adam in Wales. If you want to watch more of my videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm @BoardGameWales, and on Board Game Geek, I'm Adam78. So thanks very much for watching. All the best.